Mr. Toops, the Jedi of Believe, and you're here in the office of the Always Believe House. Oh, today we're going to review what you did right before spring break. We're going to graph polynomials, graph quadratics, which form a parabola, and identify the key attributes of the parabola. I'm only going to do a couple of these problems because most of it's calculator based. And you should be able to refresh your memory. If you have the worksheet from Friday before spring break, make sure that's out. A lot of the answers are similar to this, okay? So let's get rocking and rolling, and we're about to have F-U-N, fun, fun, fun. Ho, ho, ho. So a magical whiteboard appears, and let's start rocking and rolling. Oh, okay, on number one. First thing we need to know, let's go back and review. Standard form was ax squared plus bx plus c. We can put equals 0 if we want. Okay, let's just leave that off. Okay, on the calculator, you're going to have f of x on there all the time, aren't you? Correct? We're trying to basically find the x-intercepts, or the big part of the parabola. Remember, this number right here is your y-intercept. And if the parabola is negative, it opens down, right? And it would have a max, okay? If it opens up, it has a minimum, right? It's the top or bottom of the curve, okay? So we're just going to basically graph these and identify the key attributes. That's it, okay? It's going to be a piece of cake. So let's do number one. On number one, right off the bat, we notice that this is negative in it. Since that's negative, we know that this graph's going to do this in it, okay? We also know that the y-intercept is -1 in it. Okay, that should be boom right off the bat. So we know we're going to have a max. Okay, we don't know what the axis of symmetry is, or the vertex, okay, we do know the y-intercept's -1, and it doesn't look like that's on there, okay? Okay, so let's go ahead and graph this. So we're going to have -2x squared plus 4x minus 1. So I'm going to go to graph B. Now then, my graph already has the f1x there, okay? If it doesn't, you have to hit menu, graphs, which is 3, and then function, which is 1, right? Menu 3, 1 will put up this f1x equal. Okay, so let's go. Let me look at it again. -2x squared plus 4x minus 1. So we're going to punch in -2x squared. Is it plus 4x? Plus 4x minus 1. Plus 4x minus 1. So -2x squared plus 4x minus 1. This graph's going to open down, and it's going to have a y-intercept at -1, won't it? So let's hit enter. The graph opens down, and it has a y-intercept at -1. We need to trace this to the top of the curve, don't we? So to trace, we're going to hit menu, and it says trace at 5, and we want to do graph trace, which is 1. Some of y'all have said menu 51, okay? That gives you to the graph trace. Notice it starts off at the y-intercept. At the bottom, I have 0, -1. I'm going to hit the right arrow button until I get to the top of the curve. Okay, that's it. That's my maximum at 1, 1. That's my vertex. So let's go back to the worksheet. So my vertex is at 1, 1. It's a maximum, and the max value is this number right here. The maximum value is 1. Okay. The axis of symmetry is going to be this number right here, x equal 1. Okay, so in your vertex, x, y, this number is your axis of symmetry. This number is your max or min, and it goes to the range, doesn't it? Okay, the y number is going to go to your range. Your vertex is a really important point. It has all those attributes in it, right? Okay, now then there are 2 zeros. If we go back to the graph, I'm going to go left to get to the first 0. So I'm going to hit the left arrow button until it says 0. Right here, and it's at 0.293, right? We're going to round that to 0.29. Notice to the right, it doesn't say exactly 0, does it? So the square root answer is not exact, okay? That's the closest the calculator could get to a 0. Not exactly 0, but it's close enough. So we're going to use 0.29. So let's go back here. The x-intercepts are at 0.29, and I could put a 0 in front of that. And let's trace to the other one. It's probably going to be another funky decimal. Okay, so we're going to keep hitting the right arrow button. There's our other 0, 1.71. Okay, so we're going to put 1.71. Okay, so I have all this answered. The domain, remember, on a graph, your domain, if we were to draw an xy axis, and let's draw this function, it looks like this, the domain could go either way, left or right, as much as you want, doesn't it? Okay, so your domain, if you remember from before spring break, we always put all, capital R, and then numbers. All real numbers every time for the domain if it's a graph. Now then the range is different. The range is going to max out here and go down in it. So the range is going to be less than all of the max numbers, which is the 1, right? Okay, so our range is going to be all of the y's that are less than or equal to, let me make that better, less than or equal to, and this number is going to drop again to the 1, okay? Whatever number is right here, that's going to go to your range, okay? And your axis of symmetry is going to be this. The axis of symmetry is the dotted line through the parabola that cuts it in half in it. Piece of cake. Basically, this assignment is all on a calculator in it. Okay, let's go to the back page and let's do number 7. And remember, these are in vertex form, okay? Let's write down vertex form. Vertex form is y equals a, parentheses, x minus h squared plus k, and h comma k is the vertex in it. Okay, so when you put the h in or when you take it out, the sign will flip like you did in point slope. Remember, point slope was y minus y1 equals n parentheses x minus x1. When you put the x and y in or when you pulled it out, you always had to flip the sign. You're going to have to do that to the h, but not the k, okay? Now then, let's real quickly, let's see if we can get our vertex just from the vertex formula. So this right here is the h, this is the k, and remember we got to flip the sign of the h. So our vertex should be negative 4 comma 1, okay, and we know that this graph opens up, right? Because if the a is negative, it opens down. That a is the same a that's in standard form, ax squared, okay? So our vertex on this should be negative 4 comma 1, and it should have a minimum, right? And the minimum is going to be the 1. Okay, the axis of symmetry is going to be x equals negative 4. Now that we don't know the zeros or anything, so we're going to graph this, okay? But I can get those first few things just from the vertex, can I? Remember, this is going to be your axis of symmetry. This will be the max or the min, and it goes to the range, doesn't it? So this parabola should look something like this, and this dot is going to be negative 4 comma 1, right? So let's graph this. So we're going to go to here. We're going to hit delete, delete, delete 3 times to get rid of the graph, right? So think of something bad, like spring break was over. It's so much fun. I want to redo a spring break, but we gotta have fun learning math, okay? So delete, 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 1, 2, 3. And then yes, I want to delete everything. And then the quick way to get another graph up is to hit tab. That's the same thing as hitting menu 3-1. As long as your graphing function always pops up. Now then, 4 parentheses x plus 4 squared. 4 parentheses x plus 4 close parentheses squared. And plus 1. So plus 1. Okay, so 4 parentheses x plus 4 squared plus 1. Hit enter. Okay, and we have our graph right here. Notice that this graph does not cross the x-axis, does it? Since the graph does not cross the x-axis, there are no zeros, are there? Okay, so let's go back to the worksheet. The number of zeros is 0. For the x-intercepts, put no solution. The domain will always be all real numbers in a graph. And the range is going to be all of the y's that are greater than or equal to 1. Okay, remember this number right here goes to your range. Since it's going up, we're going to use greater than. If it opens down, we use less than, okay? You should be able to finish the rest of these up. Oh, or let's go down to here. Okay, 11 to 26, we're going to do this tomorrow. This is kind of, I don't know why they're doing this, but let's go through. I will do a few of these on the left for us, okay? So what you want to do is to get the letter squared all by itself. Okay, so on number 11, you're wanting to isolate this. on every single one of them, okay? So let's just circle these. That's what you're trying to get all by itself, okay? And I'm going to do 2 of these for you, okay? And you can do the rest. So let's do number 11. I've got to move the 2 over, don't I? So I'm going to add 2 to both sides, and that's going to give me b squared equals 16. Now then, what is the opposite of the second power? Okay, for instance, let's say 5 times 5 is 25. How would I go from the 25 back to the 5? I'm not going to divide. I'm going to use a square root, aren't I? So I'm going to square root both of these sides right here. Now then, that's going to give me b equals, but y'all remember, this is a parabola and it's going to cross the x-axis twice. So the answer is either a positive or a negative 4. And you write the answer down with a plus minus. So these answers, you'll put a plus minus and then your square root answer, okay? That means positive 4 times positive 4 is 16, and negative 4 times negative 4 is 16. I'll do one more for you. That'll be a fraction. So this one right here, we're going to have to divide by 64, and that will give us k squared equals 16 over 64. Now then, remember, the opposite of the second power is the square root. Now then, let's just type this into the calculator. So go to the calculator. We're going to hit the home button. Go to calculate A. Now then, to get a square root in, we're going to hit Control X squared. So Control X squared gives us a square root, and we want a fraction in here. Don't freak out that there's a fraction in here. So hit Control Divide, and I think it's 64 over 16, 16 over 64. So 16 goes in the numerator, hit the down, 64 goes in the denominator. Now I can hit enter. Before I hit enter, we should know this answer. The square root of 16 is 4, and the square root of 64 is 8 in it. And 4 over 8 will simplify to 1/2 on it. And remember, it could either be a positive 1/2 or it could be a negative 1/2. So this calculator is only going to give us a positive answer. It should just be 1/2. And it is 1/2 in it, because the square root of 16 is 4, the square root of 64 is 8, and 4 over 8 simplifies to 1/2. Okay, but to put our answer down, we need to put a plus or a minus in front of that. So the answer is either going to be a positive 1/2 or a negative 1/2. You should be able to finish the rest of those problems up on your own. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Remember, you are amazing, you are created to do wonderful things, and you are awesome.